Hey YouTube, Tire Metalhead Weatherman here. Hopefully you guys are doing well. So it's the beginning of May here, so I think this is as good a time as any to look into the first half of the month here, since we have models that are able to allow us to do so. So we'll kind of break down everything that we've been seeing so far and what we could be seeing over the course of the next 14 to 16 days, I would say. So we'll start out by looking at the SBC potential for severe weather mainly. There is a little bit of a fire danger too, but it's not crazy at the moment. If something changes, I'll try and update that. But for severe weather, as far as today's concerned, there's a marginal risk over parts of Idaho and Oregon here, mainly a very marginal concern for damaging winds. Minimal, I really meant to say, but I've had a really long day, so bear with me. The wordplay isn't great. Then tomorrow we have this marginal risk that's over here towards New Mexico and Texas. Again, the main concern, damaging winds. Nothing along the lines of anything tornadic or hail related. Then on day 3, no severe storms to worry about. Day 4 gets interesting though, because we have a day 4 slight risk that stretches through Abilene and parts of central Texas, even into Oklahoma here. It's kind of has a setup where this will most likely have storms firing on a dry line. And all hazards seem to be possible. I think it's only going to be a brief window though. If things do uptrend with this, I may live stream this, and then Friday is another day I'm interested in, but there's not enough confidence between all the models yet for the Storm Prediction Center to pull a trigger on a risk area as of right now. Should things uptrend though, this could change. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on that. And then on days 6, 7, and 8, it's also predictability too low. But the pattern does start to pick back up over time, and we will look into that as well. One other thing I want to make note of with the pattern is we're in an interesting setup here, and you can kind of get a good look at it just from this overview map here. And I'm actually going to draw this out too. And basically what we have going on is we have a little bit of an omega pattern going on here. So basically what we have going on is we have this trough over here out towards the west. It's brought in some cold air across the western half of the country here. Big ridge that goes even as far as Canada here has begun to develop. And then over here, here's our other trough that's produced a lot of severe weather, a lot of rainfall, a lot of below average temperatures across a large part of the eastern half of the country. This isn't my best drawing, forgive me for that, but nonetheless, that's pretty much the setup that we have here. And this is what's going to keep the severe weather threat at bay for at least the next 2 to 3 days. Marginal risks are possible, but beyond that, nothing too crazy is going to be going on here. This is also going to affect our temperatures very notably, and you can see even with this ridge starting to come into play here on the 6 to 10 day outlook here. Much warmer than average temperatures across the heart of the country, and we're starting to get that negative PNA setup redeveloping here. I'm going to make a video talking about the different types of oscillations, so that way you get a better idea of what's going on there. So look forward to that at some point soon. I'm going to guess maybe this week. We'll see what happens. And then we also have increasing temperatures across the northeast here as that trough is eventually going to exit out. But with that trough exiting and this clash of air masses coming into play here, with this warm air already in place, eventually severe storms will be in the picture once more. And we'll go ahead and double down here and look all the way towards the end of this first half of the month, and we can see that warm air will start to dominate across the eastern half of the country. Western half is slightly cooler than average at the moment, and also a little bit more active too as we look at the precip pattern. This is what we see on the 6 to 10 day outlook, increasing precipitation across the northwest, a little bit dry across the southwest. It's also going to be the warmest over towards the southwest as well. Then a little bit of a decrease in precip over towards the northeast. Over towards the southeast and heart of the country, there's also increased precipitation probabilities there as well. We go to days 8 through 14. We do see a little bit of a drop off. We're a little bit more towards average numbers. But again, you can almost see a little bit of a storm track beginning to take shape here. Or we see this little dip right here where we can see multiple low pressures rolling over the southeast here and setups that yield towards more shower and thunderstorm activity over towards the southern plains. This is likely going to change a little bit, but for the most part I have pretty good confidence in this. So we'll go ahead and also take a look at what we can expect this week, and then we can also look at the upper wind pattern. So first thing we're going to do also is take a look at the temperatures, because that's been a big topic. I've actually had people come up to me and ask me about it, for those of you that do live in Atlanta. I haven't forgotten you, so I'm just going to go ahead and give you an idea of what we're seeing right now and what we could be seeing down the line here. Here's our warmer than average temperatures over here. This is just after lunchtime when this model first came out. This is more so towards the current time that we have at the moment, which is 03Z. So if you're in the Eastern time zone, you subtract this by, I think, 4 hours, maybe 5. I do have a video discussing that, so I can leave that up in the top right corner here. But right about this time here, as we head into Tuesday here, we still see that below average temperature area beginning to sneak its way to the, well, not really sneak, but continuing to work its way through the eastern half of the country here. But you see this wave of warm air coming in. This is in perfect correlation with the CPC outlook. And as we draw later towards the week here, we start to see that warm air moving off to the east, and decrease in these much colder than average temperatures. We can still see areas where we're getting up to about 5 to 10, maybe even 15 degrees below average, depending on your area, like over towards West Virginia or Pennsylvania, for example. We could still get up to about 15 below average. But for a large part of the country here, especially towards the center, we're starting to get those 5 to 10 degrees above average. And as this goes on, because we're at the limit of this model here, we can only look about 90 hours, we're going to see these numbers start to increase as time goes on. But as I've said before, when we start to see one air mass begin to move and be replaced by another one, with another one on its flank, that is often a sign that we could be getting a more active storm pattern. Hence, when we look at the precipitation type, we'll start to see an increase in weather as we draw towards the latter half of the week. So we'll go ahead and move this forward here. Like I said, pretty quiet starting out. Look what happens as we get into Thursday here, though. This is where our severe weather probability exists. Here's our low pressure right here. Moderately impressive there at 1,000 millibars. But right through here is where our severe weather threat exists now. So right about here is where we have to keep an eye on these storms developing here. It almost has the look of a dry line type setup. Right anywhere to the east of this black line that I've drawn here is going to be where the moisture ends up evecting into parts of Texas and Oklahoma, and just behind it's going to be pretty dry. Dew points are going to be near like the 30s, maybe even some 20s possibly. But anywhere out ahead of this line, dew points are going to be pretty impressive, along with temperatures. And with this low being a point of upper air forcing, storms could be possible, some even reaching severe limits. What all we could see from those yet, it's still to be determined. So now that we've discussed that, we go over towards Friday. That low persists, and we could see increased activity across maybe even the southeast here. because right out ahead where the cold front will end up being is where we'll end up seeing the potential for some severe storms. A round or two could be possible depending on how conditions develop here. And then, of course, over towards the west, we're starting to get increased precipitation over there as we head into Friday morning, as another system will be on its way in. So mainly going to be rain for most areas. Towards the higher elevations, we could see a wintry mix and even some snow. But other than that, that's really what the week looks like. We're not going to look at precipitation models for this next part because we're looking so far out ahead. But the main thing that we need to understand are what troughs and ridges are. I kind of discussed them a little bit earlier when we were looking at the overview. And here's another look at it again. Here's a trough and here's a ridge. Here's another trough. This is what we have going on right now, currently. So we move that forward. This is where some of the below average temperatures are coming from, is this little trough right here that has almost, in a way, kind of a cutoff low. And what ends up happening is this eventually moves off, and then this is how we end up getting the setup for severe on Thursday. We have this small little branch of this trough starting to break off here, and you see a tiny little maximum develop. It's not a super impressive one, but it's one that needs to be watched nonetheless. This uptrend, it could become a problem. Right now, I'm looking just behind the dry line here, because if we were ahead, these dew points here that's represented in the green on this chart would be in the mid to even upper 60s possibly. And we're not going to really hone into that and get into those QT charts too far tonight. But you can see the setup beginning to take shape here. Here is the Thursday setup again. Then you see another branch of that jet kind of meandering around the southeast in a way. Not a like I said, not a super impressive one, but one that's present nonetheless. Then towards Saturday, you see another branch of this little jet streak trying to develop over here towards the heart of the country. So more severe weather could be possible with this. And then we see another trough coming in here, and this one is a little bit more robust. And this is a day that a few people have been talking about for a bit here as we head towards the 11th and the 12th. What this ends up doing, it's still pretty far out, and this is more than likely going to change. But if this does develop a negative orientation to it or a negative tilt to it, this could be a big problem maker for the central US and maybe even towards the northern plains, which would be an interesting setup. And then here's another little cyclonic feature that develops here, but of course we're at the end of the model run. So really, like I said before, anything past 200 hours out, it's more or less hearsay as to what happens. As of right now, it looks impressive, but by tomorrow it could look entirely different. I'll make update videos on these as warranted, simply because we all know the weather loves to change, and weather people often tend to be wrong, myself included. That being said here, that's the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you do, you already know what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Of course, hit that share button too. I'm pretty sure a good number of people here will be wanting to know just how May could look considering how the other months have been. And then, of course, comments and questions are always welcome. I try to answer as many of them as I can. But that being said, it's the end of the video here. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day, rest of your evening, whenever time you see this video. It's been Ty, your Metalhead Weatherman. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one.